Hey everybody, it's Lori with the Catch a Pocket Podcast, and tonight, episode 18, my guest is Maria Elena, and she has a new album out called Esta Fantasia, and it is an all Spanish spoken album, and it's really cool. I'm going to feature a track at the end of this called Hasta el Borde, and it's an awesome song. Stick around and check it out. I'm going to leave links to Maria's Bandcamp page, all her Facebook and Instagram stuff, along with the links to the artists that were her muse for this new album. I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the Catch a Pocket Podcast. It's coming to you. This is December the 18th, 2019. Kind of a big deal day if you're into politics. I'm not going to go into it here, but you know how I feel if you know me. And you can reach me. You can email me at catchapocket@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, sometimes Twitter even. If I'm getting risky, you can listen to the Catch a Pocket Podcast, brought to you by Podbean app. But you can also find us on Google, Apple, TuneIn, Spotify, and others, I hear. Let me know how we're doing, guys, and we have some more to come, but we're going to take a little small break, a little extra time, because it's Christmas time. I'm going to enjoy some time with family and friends. Love y'all. Merry Christmas. This is Maria Elena. Enjoy. I'm here with Maria Elena. What kind of projects are you working on right now, Maria?
Well, I'm about to release an album, anytime. I should be getting the masters back pretty soon here, that I recorded at Air House, with David Lord.
Oh, wow.
And, it was a really interesting project because it was a crossover to Spanish album for me.
Wow.
And so I've done some stuff in Spanish before, but I've never done an entire project.
So this entire project is going to be in Spanish?
Yes.
And is it jazz influenced?
I would say that it's jazz influenced, but it definitely is not jazz.
Is it Spanish in its sound, or?
There are hints, there are nods, particularly in what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I would say that there are some nods to, more traditional flamenco kind of stuff. But even still, like, whatever sort of Latino music feel that it has, I think is coming from the rhythm as a whole. It's the idea behind it was to create, and there are all the notes in this album, just every note all at once by all the instruments all the time.
I'm excited to hear it.
It was a great departure from the stuff that I've done before because of its busyness. And just kind of how I wanted to approach it. I really wanted to do a lot of like rhythmically layered and overlapping stuff. And so I think it worked. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't I'm afraid to put any sort of like terms attached to it, like jazz or fusion or, any words like that, because it's, at least for me, it's a more unique sound than I've made before. Mm-hmm. And so, but there, I listen to jazz and I listen to flamenco and I listen to all kinds of Latino music and I listen to, a lot of things that definitely inspired it.
Right.
But I wouldn't necessarily say that you can, pick those out.
And have you named it?
Yes, it's called Esta Fantasia.
Okay.
Which
so
means it is make-believe, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm excited to hear it, and hopefully I can get some tracks off of it, and so I can put it on this podcast.
Absolutely.
But let's go from day one. Where were you born?
I was born in Wichita.
Yeah, at At Wesley Hospital, like
Yes.
everyone else?
Yep.
Okay. It's like a baby factory at
Yep.
Wesley Hospital. I probably get 80% of people say at Wesley
At
Hospital.
Wesley, yeah.
But not all, but some. So when did you live in Wichita, like after you were born, or did you move somewhere else?
I did mostly. I grew up in Rose Hill, but I went to school in Wichita, and so...
Like Wichita schools?
Yeah.
Which school did you go to?
I went to Magdalen grade school and
Okay.
Capon High School.
Okay. So East Side Catholic.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So I was like a South Side, so we go to the West Side.
Right.
But I didn't go to Catholic school. I went to public school. But so from Capon, did you go on to WSU?
No, I went to Utah State University
Cool.
for 1 semester.
Yeah.
And then I left.
Did you just want to get away from home?
Yeah, that was partly it. You know, I got a scholarship there. I got a really, really great scholarship, and that was part of it. I wanted to, you know, I kind of had wanderlust, and I wanted to, you know,
Get away.
get out of town and see what else was out there. And so I picked the place with that didn't have a lot going on as far as the kind of culture that I was looking for.
Right.
It's a beautiful place, and I made really beautiful friends there for sure. But I was, you know, probably needing at that time to really like invest musically and invest artistically. And because of the city that I was in and kind of my limitations of
Right. Because it's mostly
geographically...
Mormon kind of...
Yeah,
Utah.
very heavily LDS. Not a lot of minorities, you know.
Not a big, like, folk scene.
No,
music
there wasn't really
scene
music
or...
happening. And what was there was very, very white bread, very, you know...
Not what you were interested in, right?
Yeah, it wasn't really going to help me grow.
Right.
in
And were
that
you there
place.
for music?
I went on a theater scholarship.
Okay.
So-
And were you playing music at that time? Like, did you already have a
That's
guitar?
kind of when I started. That's when I started playing guitar, because I'd always played piano before that.
Okay.
But I couldn't take a piano, obviously,
Sure.
to college, so I took a guitar, and that's when I started to kind of investigate it. Was
Okay.
that semester, instead of going to class, I would sit in my dorm by myself and
play.
tune the knobs to
figure out.
something. Yeah, because I didn't, you know, this was before you could like, or at least it probably wasn't before the internet worked, but before I knew that it worked.
Right,
Because
and how
I'm
it
not very
worked.
tech savvy. So, you know, I wasn't about to like download tabs and things to actually learn how to play something. So I would just like tune my guitar until it made a chord and then try to do something that sounded not
so it
horrible.
was all sorts of special tuning going
It was,
on there. You
yeah,
didn't
and I
even know
had
about.
no tuner, so it was all by ear, and it was
Oh.
atrocious. And I'm sure that my neighbors hated me. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I had a really good
Hey,
time
well-
doing that part.
So you got inspired at that point, like this could
I
be
did.
more,
Absolutely.
and then you
Yeah.
came back to Wichita at that point,
Yeah.
and then you started to explore what you were going to do with music, or you had to do with music.
Yep.
And so, give us a little bit of that, like that road.
Yeah, I came back. I decided when I was there, I kind of had this epiphany that that's what I was supposed to do. Because I, you know, like I said, I went there for theater, and I was thinking that I was going to be on this sort of acting
Right.
drama, you know, some type of performance thing.
Sure.
And I hated it. I just hated it so much.
Did it make you nervous, or did you
No,
just not like
no,
learn,
I just-
like remembering lines, or just the lot,
I,
the whole?
yeah, it was just the whole thing. I just didn't feel right to me, and I didn't. Honestly, I think it came down to I didn't want to learn other people's stuff. I wanted to make my own stuff.
Okay.
And I just
That's really,
didn't want
that's
to
really
like.
cool. A lot of people just like myself. I just want to do other people's because it's so cool.
I mean, it's all cool, and you can learn from it all. I think I
Yeah.
was just too impatient to sit
Right.
and like absorb someone else's art and try to recreate it. Like I wanted to do my own shit.
Yeah.
You know, and so
You had something to say.
yeah.
And you've been saying it. So how many albums right now do you have currently?
Oh man, let me think. The first full one I made was when I came back home after living in Utah, and I think I made it like 2 years later or 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been 2000.
So it took you about 2 or 3 years to get it all together, like in your
Yeah,
mind.
I started gigging and stuff, and I was writing songs, and it took me a while to, find people to play with that, and I was young. I mean, I was 18, and so I had to kind of get involved in the scene as best I could, being underage, and find people that would be willing to play with me and sneak me into bars and sneak me into places where I could play, and it worked out pretty well, and I never got anyone in trouble as far as I know. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And everyone still just really enjoys you and your playing. I know I do. You played on Kirk's tribute album, The Nation.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to play that one on this podcast because I really loved it. It came out really, I thought it really sounded awesome.
Oh, good.
So right now I'm going to play the song Record Shop featuring Maria Elena from the Nation Kirk Grunstrom Legacy album. Here it is.
Your lover undercover, you take all your vices from me. You will soon discover that the road ain't as easy as it seems. 30 days, Lord, time is killing me. Find your lover undercover. You take all your chances on me. Vices from me. You will soon discover that the road ain't as easy as it seems. 30 days, Lord, I can't play. I'm running, and time is killing me. Find your lover on the cover. You take all your chances on me.
Enjoy what you do with the rock and roll school for girls.
Yeah, thank
and I always
you.
want to be a part of it, and it always falls on a part of time. I think it's in April or something like that.
It's been the first week of August.
August?
Yeah, but
because
I think I'm
it's
moving
like
it this
something
year.
is there always that I have to go do. And I'm like, I want to commit time. I'm booked that day, that,
Yeah,
so
sure.
that's the way it goes. But one of these times, if you move it, maybe I can fit myself into it.
I think it's going to open up a lot better to a lot of people's schedules if I move it a little earlier in the summer. So I'm going to try and do that this year, yeah.
Yeah, that's really inspirational, I think. Do you have any
It is, man. It's changed my life.
Yeah. I imagine it has,
Yeah.
just to see the change that you can make just by doing one thing, or it turned out to be a big thing now. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so going back to you making albums in your first album, and then how many did you ever come up with?
Oh, let me think. Okay, I did a couple when I lived in China, and then I don't know, like the fifth
So you moved
one,
away and
maybe?
went to China and then
Oh yeah,
did a couple?
yeah.
And what'd you do in China?
I taught English, and I did a lot of like curriculum development work. And what I loved the most was after I had been there for a year or more, I ran the kindergarten department.
Oh.
And so I was able to kind of like infiltrate the department and put a lot of musical stuff in there and a
cool.
lot of drama stuff in there that before it had all been, you know, kind of monotonous learning stuff. And so they gave me a lot of freedom to like incorporate a lot of arts, you know,
That's really cool.
into the curriculum.
So
and that
was it
really
mostly
great.
like native people from China that
Yes.
went to this school?
Yes.
And so you speak Chinese then?
I did pretty well.
Yeah.
Not fluent by any means. But I could
polite?
have... Yeah. I mean, I could have a conversation about general things pretty easily.
Sure.
At this point, it's been several years since
Sure.
since
sure
I
it
lived
takes-
there.
you
So
gotta
it's...
practice.
Yeah. But I think it would come back pretty fast. I was there for almost 7 years, so...
Oh, okay.
It took, you know, I absorbed quite a bit. But I'd never studied it,
Right.
like, hard.
So you just got tired of being there, or it was just the job ran out or something, and you come back?
There were a lot of reasons, you know. When I first went, the plan was to be there for 1 year, and it just kept getting extended and kept getting extended. And there was some stuff going on at home just with my family and my friends that I was missing.
Right.
And it was
Like your mother and father, that type of thing?
Yeah, my stepfather passed away while I was there, and having to come home and deal with that
Right.
when I lived overseas, you know, and my brother and sister live in California, so they also had to trek back to Wichita. But having to not be here and only being able to be here for a couple of weeks, you know, and like try to get the house together and try to do all this stuff and still try to be comforting to my family, and then have to like pack up and go back to work on the other side of the country where I have no support. You know, nobody there knows what's going on, and they just see me like grieving and don't know why. And I just, that was kind of it for me. I was like, I can't do this again. I'm not going to be in a place where I'm not at least closer to
home.
To my community that
her.
like...
And so your mother was still alive, and you were helping her process her grief. and then having to leave and not liking that.
Yeah.
And that feeling kind of gave you the inspiration. It's time to come back.
Yeah, it really
and be
did.
closer.
Yeah.
Even if you ended up in California with your siblings or wherever you went.
I mean, then I'd be with them. You know,
Right.
I mean, and not that, like, I see any of them or even talk to them every day, but just, you know, not being able to be present with the people that I love and love me when something that surprising and, you know, traumatic happens.
Yeah.
Is just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Made you feel like you were not in the right place anymore.
Yeah, it really did. You know, it was kind of like a reminder that, you know, I'm here, but this isn't my home.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was time.
Okay. So that was a long time of all of your 20s almost. You were in China.
Yeah.
And so then you came back as this mature, awesome woman and made 2 albums there. And you were at the time married and, you know, whatever. And then you come back and you guys make some more albums together as a band. And then your last album before this total Spanish album was called... Hollow Bones?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And it was about birds?
There are a lot of bird references.
Yeah.
So it was about homecoming, really, is what it was. It was just kind of, you know, I wrote a lot of that in the time that I was grieving the passing of my stepfather.
Okay.
And
that's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, for you to be able to... Some people write poetry, and you write poetry that you turn into music, and helps you process your grief.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
really
what
cool.
That album was for sure.
It was a very beautiful and poignant album. I listened to it, and I was just like, it's very nice and melodic, and it's just very jazz influenced. I just really thought it all came together kind of beautifully in a dance in a way.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Thank you.
But I'm excited to hear the new album. You said on your new album you went to California to record it.
Not the Este Fantasia that's about to come out, but we just my drummer Scott and I just got back on Thursday. We
Scott's
were there
here. Hi, Scott.
Yeah, we just spent a couple of weeks in LA recording at Big Ego Studios for an album that's going to come out in 2020.
Did you see your family while you were there?
No. Well, I saw my sister for dinner, but
Okay.
that's it. We really didn't have time. We were at the studio every day.
Working round the clock, kind of trying to get... And that one's called what? Or you don't have a name for it
Don't
yet?
have a name for it yet.
And it's not 100% Spanish. It's going to be...
No, there's both.
Yeah.
Both Spanish and
You're
English.
you're finding yourself in your music and your culture.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's so
absolutely.
cool. I'm partially Spanish, so it kind of tugs at my heartstrings too. So, so tell me a little bit about the process of Esta Fantasia. You did that here?
Yes.
At your home studio?
At Air House with
Okay.
David Lord, yeah.
Oh, cool. So, how long did that take to...
Oh, Lord. You know, I don't know. It always takes longer than you think it's going
Right.
to, right? It's like a home remodel. Like
Sure.
they quote you 3 weeks or whatever.
And then they find
and
something.
like 7
and,
years later, you still, yeah. So, and that's not in anyone's fault or anything.
Sure.
That, you know, mostly that was me saying, well, let's try this, and well, let's try this, and me wanting to be very present for all of it as well,
Sure.
like wanting to be involved in all of the mixing and wanting to be involved in the editing and
To learn that skill? Or just
because I'm a
you're-
control freak. So I want to do it, you know.
And the truth comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to be as hands-on with everything as much as possible, and I was there every minute that anyone recorded. We tracked it. It wasn't live, you know. So I was also there, like, giving direction and asking and praising and criticizing and whatever. Every minute that every musician that played on it was there. And then I edited it all and edited all their parts and their solos and everything, and then I helped to mix, and so, you know, the only part that I won't have a lot of, you know, hands-on involvement is the mastering. But, you know, I don't know how long it took. A year, probably. Which isn't, I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a lot. It was a lot.
And so, I don't know about you, but when I do these podcasts and I'll be editing, I could edit them forever and never put them out.
Yeah.
But then at some point I know I have to let it go. And this is, I'm only going to make it worse from here, basically.
Yeah.
So
there comes a point where you have to just say, that's what I sound like.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether I like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to just allow yourself to be humble and say, well, it's not perfect, but that's what I sound like. And so I guess that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
totally.
and to be good with that and to kind of own it. And that's really freeing when you're at a point where you can do that. I used to have a lot of anxiety about my voice and my playing and my ability to really nail all the parts, and make them as perfect as possible. But now, and maybe it's just because I'm in my 30s and I have a kid and I don't have time to worry about details so much. It's just
you only have so many hours in a day to worry.
It's I made a thing and it's, let's make it as good as we can and move on. I can't sit.
So you do kind of, I do too now, is when I hit that final, this is done.
Yeah.
And then I walk away and I'm like, well, I did something, and
the point is to get it.
Yeah. Here it is.
To do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the cool thing. It's I know there's a big difference in performing live versus being in the studio, particularly if you're tracking instead of recording live.
Right, because you're all in different rooms. I mean, nobody's there when you're doing
right,
it.
Right, if you start just with the drums.
Very,
and then you have
very
to come in
separated, segmented
yes, different days and different weeks and months apart, different people coming in and stuff. And so you can't maintain a vibe that way, for sure. But there is a real kind of art and understanding how to be present in that just as much as you would be if it were live,
right?
And trying to
recall
pull that out of the musicians that are working on that, and I think I'm getting better at that. I don't know if
yeah, I think it's always a work in progress on who you are, and as you get older you get more patient or maybe more modest or maybe a little more humble. I don't know. Yeah. It's always usually an improvement
hopefully
on yourself.
All of those things, right?
Yeah. But sometimes not, sometimes we walk around and strut our stuff, but I guess that's okay too. It's part of the theater of the thing, I think.
They have to balance.
Sure.
Because if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So where do you find your inspiration from? This is always the trick question that everybody goes, oh.
Well, that's an interesting question for Este Fantasia because this is the first music that I've ever made where I didn't write the majority of the lyrics.
Where'd you get them from?
From poetry.
Okay.
From two different poets. I took from Trisha Maria. She's a Dutch-Canadian poet.
Oh.
And she's wonderful. And I took from Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, which was a Baroque poetess from Mexico. And
so both women.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
From very different times, very different backgrounds, very different life experiences. And then one of the songs contains or is made from a poem that I wrote. Okay. So I think it's 10 or 11 tracks. 9. I don't know how many. 10.
9, 10, or 11.
There's 9, 10, or 11 songs on there. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out.
But yeah, only one of them is one that I wrote the lyrics to. And I did chop up, I'd say I morphed the poetry or multiple poems into and combined and chopped things up. It wasn't
like you took a little bit of this and took a little bit of that and put it into a song. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you created a song, but you took it from lyrics or poems that someone else wrote.
Yes.
Other two ladies wrote.
Uh-huh.
And the lady who was from Canada, did she write in French or?
No, in English.
In English?
And so I had to have that translated.
Uh-huh.
And so I had some help from some very, awesome people that helped me work
Hopefully
on those
you can trust them
translations.
and they didn't like
Yeah. Yeah, my Spanish isn't nearly good enough to have done that totally by myself. And so having them kind of back me up on that and make sure that I was getting across the right feelings and that, yeah.
That's awesome. I bet that was really intense trying to get someone else to see your heart, the way you wanted it to be expressed.
Translating is... I've never had to really do it, professionally or anything like that. And it's, I imagine, just one of the most stressful things, especially when you're looking at something like poetry, because there's so much nuance and there's so much vagueness that needs to be kept.
Right.
And
this intention of vagueness.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're talking about, ethereal things and you're talking about emotions and making references to love or hurt or, stuff like that. I mean, just changing the word love from one language to another doesn't necessarily translate the feeling at all. And so that was definitely a point of stress. I think the only real stress I had over it was making sure that the way that these translations were coming together were going to really put the feelings
right,
and
honor the people.
Yes.
And honor yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally.
Make sure that Trisha's voice wasn't lost. And
that's beautiful.
And because her work is so magnificent and she has such a beautiful eye for color in her words and stuff. Wow. And I really wanted to make sure that could come across, and so hopefully I did her justice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get a poetry book of hers or something.
Yeah, I'll send you some info on her. She's on Instagram and stuff.
I'll put the link on the notes.
Yeah. She's really great.
All right. So what do you got going in the future? Is the next you've already got a next album going.
I know.
So
it's bizarre.
What do you plan
have these
on?
Two albums that are being mastered at the same time, but one's not going to be released for however long.
Like a year, probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Give people time to enjoy this album that you have coming out.
Yeah.
And perform it live. Hopefully, you're planning some gigs for that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you plan to release it sometime before the first of the year, and
yes.
And so
we're going to release it on Bandcamp only, I think, is the plan.
Okay.
I don't know if that's forever or just for a while.
Yeah,
but as soon as it's done, which could be any day, then we'll put it up on Bandcamp, and hopefully people will send us a few bucks here and there to download the thing.
Definitely. If you release it before I release the podcast, then I can just get it that way. So,
yeah, awesome.
No big deal there. So, are there any words of wisdom that you would like to spread throughout Wichita and the surrounding areas?
I think I would say be supportive and be critical. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with being critical.
Right.
And I think that a lot of us are afraid of criticism, and we're afraid to receive it, and we're afraid to give it. And if you do it the right way and you're open enough, it's extremely, extremely beneficial, and people only get better.
Yeah.
And criticism for the sake of being critical is no good.
Right.
So, we gotta be thoughtful about it. But what I find a lot is that, we, as a society, I feel like have kind of navigated towards this fear of being critical in the art world and toward creativity, and because we want everyone to feel like they're really doing something, and it's why?
Yeah.
Right. Because we should all be supportive of people who want to make art. Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's support it. let's go to the thing, go to the show, go to the gallery, go physically get yourself in the building and support these people, buy their records,
definitely
go and support them. And then,
give them feedback.
And give them feedback. If they ask you, give it and be real about it. And I think that we would just grow so much if we had like an actual presence of mind from, people who want to be involved in artistic communities, who, made themselves be present at the events, at these things that were happening, so that, not to validate the artist, because that's up to them.
Right.
But you can't be a community if you don't show up.
Right.
And
that's true.
And you can't, consider yourself, an activist, an artist, whatever, if you don't speak up in a way that is going to be beneficial to that art.
I agree.
And to that art evolving.
Right. So supporting your community and being active and critiquing someone's work without being
and of yourself
a jerk
too,
or an ass about it.
Of yourself too,
yeah.
I mean, I think that like we're afraid to look at our stuff and like critique it,
right?
And we,
that's definitely a big step in all art. Though.
Yeah.
So I think it's something people aren't good at though. Like they're bad at receiving criticism.
Mm-hmm.
They take it too personally instead of taking it as...
Well, it's hard.
Yeah. And it is hard. I always ask people, like, leave your feedback. And everybody's like, it's awesome. And I know it's not always awesome. But,
that's the thing, is it's not. It's not always awesome.
No, no one's
and
always
like,
awesome.
That's a good thing. Like
you have something to work for.
Yeah, exactly. We can't be perfect all the time. And I think that, we got to be able to like have some humility, and that's how we're going to get better.
Right.
And like
your best moments when you move forward and progress is when you fail. Mm-hmm. It's never when you do well.
That's right.
That's where you start stumbling and stuff, is when everyone...
Yeah, you plateau at that point.
Yeah.
If everyone's always telling you how great you are, there you go.
Right.
And we don't push each other to do hard stuff.
Right. We want everything to be soft and fluffy and rainbows and everything.
And like, why not? Why don't we do that? I don't see that from artists around me. I don't, except for a select, very, very, very few, I don't see artists like pushing each other to like work at something that makes them uncomfortable, or push them to like do something hard.
Yeah.
Like no one ever challenges each other in a respectful and in a productive way.
Right.
I mean,
it's only in this dumpster kind of way. Yeah.
They don't get together and say, let's do this thing that's really hard.
Yeah.
And let's try it. But actually really try it.
And that's what the people really want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to see someone, skipping down a field, but they want to see someone climbing Mount Everest, and then having to turn back at the last minute because the snow came in and stuff like that. Because that's what real, true, inspiring stories are about, is people that can turn around and recalculate. Mm-hmm. So, man, it's been a real pleasure having you. Do you have any other things you'd like to promote or pump up while you're here?
I mean, I'll, of course, always talk about Rock Camp because, it's very close to my heart. And we don't have dates set for the summer yet, but we, if you don't know about it, look us up, Rock and Roll Camp for Girls Wichita.
Okay, I'll post the site.
Yeah, it's like, it changed my life. Like I said, seeing the transformation that these girls go through on day one, on Monday morning, the shyness and the worry and the concern, and by Friday afternoon when they're so excited for their performance, on Saturday when there's girls literally, jumping up and down and rolling around on the ground on stage, screaming into a mic.
Rocking out,
you know, and seeing that transformation every year just is so inspiring. And that's the thing. That's what's so cool about this camp, is that these girls have all of the humility and all of the confidence in the world that adult artists don't have anymore. And it's like they have this perfect, like, simultaneous bubble of courage and help me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and we don't have that. We grow out of it somehow. And
where you feel like you can't do it because...
Yeah, we don't want to ask for help, and we don't want to get criticism, and we don't want to, you know, not be, you know, just killing it all the time. And so we don't try to do stuff that's weird. And like these, you know, I've got these 8-year-old girls and 16-year-old girls who have never played an instrument before, and they get a bass thrown at them, and they have to learn, you know, what's going on, and it's heavy and it hurts their fingers. And you know, maybe the girls in their band want to do a screamo tune or whatever, and they've never listened to it, and they're not into it, and they have to like push themselves to do it. And like, I see so much passion come out of these girls, like put themselves in a place that is inherently uncomfortable and come out of it in a way where they've created something that is really unique, because they all write songs. We don't learn songs, like they write their own stuff.
Oh, wow.
And the fact that they like have this thing that they make from scratch with girls they've maybe never met before, you know, on instruments they've probably never touched before, and like develop a community of girls who like are pushing, you know, are working, like really working at something.
That's amazing.
And, like, setting aside whatever like fears or worries or whatever they might have about their ability, and like making something, man.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's really awesome. It's just really awesome. I'm
just gonna have to cancel everything and be a part of it.
You know what? That's the thing that is awesome every time.
Yeah.
Is those girls.
Yeah.
And every one of their bands. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to be able to like take part in that and make sure that some of those, you know, accents in that clay are going to be creative and going to be, you know, encouraging.
Yeah. I saw one of the girls that was in the rock and roll camp perform at a backyard, and you were getting ready to play.
Evan McIntosh. Man.
She's
amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's 15.
Holy
she
cow.
Just came out with her first full album, and it's like she's got like 73,000 Spotify followers monthly, or she's blowing up, you know, she's really great.
Yeah.
And same thing with Evan, you know, like she comes over to lessons to my house every week.
Right.
And at the same time, she's got all the confidence in the world. Like she's still in this place where, you know, she's got the motivation and the productive energy to do something and push herself to do something, but she's still asking for help. You know, still trying to get better. Yeah. And like, we gotta keep that, man, or we're never gonna make anything weird.
Right. And that's where the cool stuff is.
That's where the cool stuff is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's one more time with the shameless plug, and thanks for catching a pocket with me today.
Thank you.
All right, Maria Elena and Scott, thanks for coming in.
The album name is Fantasia, and it's going to be streaming on Bandcamp before the first of the year.
Awesome. Everybody go buy it. So here is Hasta el Borde from the Fantasia album. Check it out.
No sueltes tu amor. Preferiría que me trates indeleblemente, apeteciblemente. Como si fuera la ropa que compraste solo para mirar y nunca llevarte. llena mi copa casi hasta el borde, hasta el borde. Porque derramar una sola gota de miseria, pecado. Porque derramar una sola gota de miseria, pecado, como si fuera y la ropa que compraste solo para mirarla y nunca llevarte. Porque derramar una sola gota de miseria,